Production Live, here with Stephen Pizzello, the editor of the American Cinematographer magazine. Tell me about the ASC Clubhouse. We are here in the President's Room right now.
Well, the ASC Clubhouse is sort of one of Hollywood's hidden gems. It used to be the private residence of a silent film star, and the ASC purchased it, I believe, in 1917 or thereabouts, and it's been their home ever since. It's got a lot of history. It's one of the oldest structures in Hollywood, and now it's the clubhouse for the most prominent cinematographers in the world.
Wonderful. And you are the editor of the Cinematogher magazine. Tell me about your job.
Our magazine is probably the world's top journal on motion imaging techniques. So we're sort of a behind-the-scenes technical magazine, how movies are made, mainly from the perspective of photography and cinematography. So that's where everything comes out of, is what they do, their artistry, their craft. And it's been around for, I think it's the second oldest continuously published magazine about movies, after maybe Variety. They've been publishing since 1918.
Wow. Have you always had an interest in cinematography?
Well, I went to school at Boston University. I'm from Massachusetts, but I started as a journalism major. And after a year or two of that, the professors told me, oh, you're well prepared enough that you could go out there and get a job in journalism. Why don't you try focusing on something else and try something else for your major? The only other thing I was really interested in was movies. So I majored in broadcast and film technically, and I thought to myself, how am I going to combine these two elements? And somehow it worked out that I did. So.
And you get to meet lots of interesting people. Can you tell me about some of the highlights of your career so far?
Well, I've seen them all. Between the set visits and the cinematographers, you're always surrounded by interesting people, which is one of the best parts of the job. And I've been there when they were sinking the Titanic with Jim Cameron, in the room when they did the hamburger scene from Pulp Fiction. I mean, any number of famous films, sitting right there in the set. Star Trek, and so all the things that I enjoyed growing up, I've gotten to sort of cross things off my bucket list of I wanted to meet this person, that person, all the great directors, and it's kind of a matter of course in this job where you meet all of these interesting people. So if you're a film nut, it's one of the best places to be.
Wonderful. And you also recently wrote a book that's coming out soon.
Yeah, I just completed work on a book about a really legendary cinematographer, Gordon Willis. He shot, among his big titles are Clute, All the President's Men, Parallax View, the Godfather movies, all of Woody Allen's famous films. And so basically, if there was a Mount Rushmore for cinematographers, his head would be one of the four heads. I mean, I hear his name all the time, even though he's been retired for a long time. His name comes up constantly because these guys revere him so much. He's a really interesting person.
And Woody Allen wrote the foreword for the book?
He did. It was one of the highlights of my my life, probably. The person who helped me form my sense of humor sent me some fresh material in the mail, and it was one of the great days of my life when I opened up that package, I can tell you.
And do you think you'll be at the magazine for years to come?
Well, I've been here for quite a while. I mean, I started here in the early 90s after working briefly a cup of coffee at Creative Artist Agency as a desk assistant. I was sort of like the person being punished by Ari Gold in Entourage. And agenting just wasn't my thing, and I had a friend who was answering the phones over here, and she told me they had an opening in editorial, so I switched back to what I really like doing, and I've been here ever since, and it's been really fulfilling. Met my wife on the job, and so I probably will be here for a little while longer. I like to do little things on the side, like produce their tribute reels for their award show, and did a music video 2 years ago, so something to keep the old hand in with what I learned in school.
So how does one become a member here at the American Society of Cinematographers?
It's not an easy thing to do because it's a very exclusive club for only the very, very top directors of photography in the world. So you have to be recommended with written letters of recommendation from 3 members. And once that happens, you come in for an interview, they screen your work for the membership committee. Then after you pass through that stage, they post the prospective member's name on a board for 30 days, and if there are no objections, then you're invited to join. So it's quite a difficult thing to achieve, and it's a real prestigious mark of excellence when you do get in. Like, the magazine is basically how we disseminate their craft to the rest of the world. Like, we interview the members about their latest productions, and it's a very in-depth technical publication. So if you want to find out how movies are actually made, it's probably one of the best magazines to learn about it.
So to be written up in the magazine, you have to be a member?
Not necessarily, no. Like we will cover interesting independent productions, foreign productions. A lot of the people we interview do eventually become members. And of course, if you are a member, you do get somewhat preferential treatment, obviously. If you're a, Maddie Lee Batik or a Wally Pfister, they usually shoot the big movies. But basically, any movie that has interesting cinematography is fair game for us, and we will find you. You can be hiding in Morocco, and we'll track you down and get the story.
And is there a website for the magazine that we can look at?
Oh yeah, it's www.theasc.com, so THEASC.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, and best of luck with everything.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for TTNHD Production Live.